I asked my Apache neighbor to be my fake girlfriend when I ran into my ex. She didn't hesitate. Alex had always thought of himself as someone who could handle unexpected situations. He liked to think he was calm under pressure, confident even when things were a little messy. But that chilly afternoon, as he walked through the quiet streets near the park, he realized he might have been wrong. The sun had begun to dip low, casting long shadows across the sidewalks and the benches. Leaves crunched under his shoes as he walked, his mind lost in thought, thinking about his day, the errands he had run, and the small frustrations he had faced. It was supposed to be just another ordinary afternoon, one of those quiet, uneventful days that you sometimes long for when life feels too hectic.
But life, as Alex was about to be reminded, rarely worked out the way he planned.
Turning a corner near the cafe where he often stopped for coffee, his heart skipped a beat. There she was, Sarah, sitting at a small outdoor table laughing with her friends, her hair catching the sunlight in a way that made it shine. Alex froze for a moment, as if the world had paused. He hadn't expected to see her, not today, not now, not after weeks of trying to avoid thinking about her. The breakup had been difficult, but he had promised himself he would move on, that he would handle seeing her gracefully if the chance ever came. Now that moment had arrived, and he felt anything but graceful. His first instinct was to turn around, to pretend he hadn't seen her. But his feet didn't move. Part of him wanted to just walk up and act like nothing had happened, to smile and say hello casually, but the other part, a louder, panicked part, wanted to disappear entirely. His stomach twisted with nerves, and a strange heat rose to his face. He could feel his palms getting clammy inside his pockets. Alex cursed under his breath. He had spent the last few weeks convincing himself he was over her, that he had moved past the heartbreak, and yet, here he was, frozen and uncertain. What would he say? Or how would he act? Would she notice how tense he was? It was in that moment of panic that he remembered Maya, his neighbor. Maya wasn't just any neighbor. She was bold, confident, and unafraid of the unexpected. Living next door, Alex had seen her handle situations with a kind of fearlessness he envied. She laughed freely, spoke her mind, and somehow managed to make everything feel lighter, even in awkward situations. She had a spark about her that made people feel comfortable and energized at the same time.
Maybe she could help, Alex thought to himself, a sudden idea forming in his mind.
It was impulsive, it was strange, but it felt like the only way to survive this encounter without looking completely awkward. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers trembling slightly as he scrolled to her contact.
Maya, he typed quickly, can you do me a huge favor? I need someone to pretend to be with me for a few minutes.
Please. He hit send before he could overthink it and immediately felt the absurdity of the situation hit him.
He was asking someone to act as his girlfriend in front of his ex. Of course it was ridiculous, but the panic in his chest left him with no room for logic.
He paced back and forth, watching Sarah laugh, watching her tilt her head in the sunlight, and feeling a strange mixture of nostalgia, regret, and embarrassment.
I'm there in 5, Maya's message read. Alex blinked.
5 minutes? She hadn't even questioned him, hadn't asked why, hadn't made a single comment about how strange it was.
She just agreed. Relief washed over him, but it was mixed with a nervous anticipation.
He had no idea how this would work, how Maya would act, or how Sarah would react. The sound of approaching footsteps snapped Alex out of his thoughts. Maya appeared around the corner, her presence like a burst of energy in the quiet street. Breaths. She waved at him with her usual mischievous grin. Her confidence was immediate, contagious.
So, what's the plan? She asked, already stepping beside him as if this was an everyday adventure rather than a bizarre favor. Alex quickly explained the situation in hushed tones, gesturing toward Sarah.
Maya listened carefully, but she didn't hesitate or frown. Instead, she nodded,
her expression playful and reassuring.
Got it. Don't worry. I've got this.
The words should have calmed him, but they only made his heart race faster. Holding hands with his neighbor? Pretending to be in a relationship in front of his ex. It was absurd, embarrassing, thrilling, and terrifying all at once. But seeing Maya's confidence made him believe just for a moment that maybe he could get through this without completely embarrassing himself. As they walked toward the cafe, Alex tried to steady his breathing. He practiced his casual smile in his head, reminded himself not to fidget, and hoped that Maya's presence would somehow make him appear confident. Every step closer to Sarah felt like walking into a storm. Yet somehow, having Maya beside him made it feel manageable. Her laughter, soft and easy, drifted alongside him, and it reminded him that life didn't always have to be so serious. And so, with a mixture of nerves and hope, Alex approached the table, ready to face an encounter he had never imagined, armed only with the courage inspired by his Apache neighbor who hadn't hesitated even for a moment. He didn't know how Sarah would react. He didn't know how this small act of pretending would turn out. But he did know one thing. Sometimes the most unexpected people show up at the right time. And sometimes taking a leap, even a strange, impulsive leap, was the only way forward. Maya's arrival felt like a sudden burst of light in the gray afternoon. Her presence alone seemed to give Alex a little more courage, though he couldn't stop the nervous flutter in his chest. He had never asked anyone to step into such a strange situation for him before, and the thought of pretending with someone he barely knew in this way made his stomach twist. Yet there she was, smiling, relaxed, ready to dive into his awkward problem without hesitation. "What exactly do you want me to do?" Maya asked, her eyes glinting with curiosity. She didn't sound judgmental or confused. Instead, it was as if she enjoyed challenges and weird little adventures. Alex tried to explain, but the words stumbled over themselves. I just need you to act like you're my girlfriend. Just for a few minutes. I just can't face her alone. Maya blinked once, then laughed. It was light and carefree, the kind of laugh that made the tension in Alex's shoulders loosen ever so slightly. "You mean just pretend?" she asked, teasing. "Sure. Why not?" Alex felt his cheeks heat up. Despair. Yeah. Just pretend. Nothing serious. I don't want her to think I'm sad or awkward. I need to look confident, I guess. Maya raised an eyebrow, clearly amused, but she didn't argue. Confident, huh? All right, let's do this. Her tone was playful, but there was a strange sincerity in her voice. It wasn't that she was mocking him. She genuinely seemed to understand that sometimes life needed a little improvisation. As they walked toward the cafe, Alex's mind raced. He tried to imagine what this pretend situation would look like. Would they hold hands? Would she kiss him on the cheek? How would Sarah react? Each step felt heavier than the last, like walking toward a stage for a play he hadn't rehearsed for. But Maya's easygoing attitude was contagious. She hummed a little tune under her breath, keeping the mood light, and even made a joke about how dramatic Alex's nervous pacing looked. "Relax," she said. "Brett, you're making it worse by thinking too much. Just act normal, which I know will be hard for you." Alex smiled weakly, appreciating her humor, even as his nerves refused to calm down. "Easy for you to say," he muttered. "You don't have to pretend like your heart is about to leap out of your chest." Maya laughed again, a soft, warm sound that made Alex's tension ease just a little more. "Well, I do love a good challenge," she said. "Besides, this is kind of fun." "You're lucky I'm around." By the time they reached the cafe, Alex's heartbeat was racing so fast he thought Sarah might notice it from across the table.
Around. He differed to attempting to a gasp, but find the adopt of our door. It seemed as if I did something of cold. He took a light to breath. He bent away from the bed.
The touch was grounding, like an anchor in a stormy sea. It was a small gesture, but it carried weight. He didn't know if it was pretend or real. It didn't matter. It helped. Maya gave him a reassuring smile, whispering, "We got this."
Alex nodded, though his throat felt tight. They walked closer to the table where Sarah sat with her friends, laughing and sipping coffee.
Brace. Sarah glanced up, and the moment she saw them approaching, her eyes widened slightly. Alex's chest tightened. He knew he was about to be under a microscope. Every expression, every movement, every word would be noticed and analyzed. Maya, however, walked with an easy confidence, like she belonged in any situation, no matter how awkward. She leaned slightly toward Alex as if the two of them shared a private joke, and whispered something under her breath that made him chuckle. The sound of his own laughter, unexpected and light, startled him. It had been weeks since he had felt this relaxed, or at least appeared relaxed. Sarah's eyes narrowed slightly, curiosity clearly written across her face. Alex tried to straighten his posture to make himself look confident and collected, but the nerves still bubbled under the surface. He could feel his palms sweating and his heart pounding, but Maya's calm presence gave him something he didn't expect: courage. As they approached the table, Maya stepped forward with a bright, friendly smile. "Hey, Sarah! A fancy seeing you here," she said warmly. Her voice was natural, cheerful, and without a trace of hesitation. Sarah blinked, clearly surprised, and Alex realized that Maya's ability to act confident was more powerful than he had imagined. He swallowed hard and forced himself to smile casually. "Hey!" he said, his voice steadier than he expected. "I didn't expect to see you here either." Maya laughed softly, leaning slightly toward him as she put a hand on his shoulder. A gesture that seemed natural, intimate, and completely convincing. Alex felt a strange surge of relief. With Maya playing her part so well, it was almost as if he could breathe again. The awkwardness that had paralyzed him for weeks started to melt away. Breath. Sarah, still curious, finally spoke. "Oh, I didn't know you two were..."
"Together now," she said, her tone neutral, but her eyes studying them carefully. Alex felt a small jolt of panic.
He wasn't ready for this kind of reaction. Dusk. She laughed softly, lightly teasing. Yeah, we've been seeing each other for a little while. It's new, but it's..." Her ease made Alex smile, even as he felt heat rise to his cheeks. Her words sounded so natural, so effortless, that even Sarah seemed to believe them for a moment. Alex realized something important. Confidence, even if it's fake, can be incredibly powerful. They stood there, chatting casually. Maya leaned in occasionally, whispering something funny that made Alex laugh quietly, forcing him to look more at ease. Each small gesture, each little joke, made the act more believable. Sarah watched them, clearly intrigued but unsure how to respond. Alex felt a mix of pride and embarrassment. He was proud that he wasn't completely crumbling under pressure, but embarrassed that he needed someone else to help him navigate a moment he had never imagined facing alone. As the conversation continued, Alex began to notice something surprising. He didn't feel entirely fake anymore. The laughter, the casual teasing, the small moments of connection, They felt real in their own way. And Maya, for her part, seemed to enjoy herself just as much as he did. But she had agreed to help him out of kindness, out of fun, and out of her natural confidence. But she also brought life into a situation that could have been unbearably tense. Finally, Sarah excused herself politely, her curiosity satisfied but still lingering.
Alex felt a wave of relief wash over him. He turned to Maya, ready to thank her, but she was already smiling, teasing him lightly.
See, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Alex shook his head, still processing the whirlwind of emotions.
I don't know how to thank you, he said. I couldn't have done this without you. Maya shrugged, still grinning. No big deal. It was fun. Honestly, I enjoyed it. As they walked away from the cafe, Alex felt something shift. The tension that had weighed on him for weeks, the fear of running into Sarah, the anxiety that had made him second-guess every possible scenario, it all felt lighter now. And it was all because Maya had stepped in without hesitation, without judgment, and without a single doubt. Alex realized something important in that moment. Sometimes, help comes from the most unexpected places, and sometimes, the people who surprise you the most are the ones who leave the biggest impact. Maya's willingness to step into an awkward, strange situation had not only helped him survive a tense encounter, it had reminded him that life didn't always have to be stressful, and that even the most uncomfortable situations could be turned into something manageable, even enjoyable, with the right person by your side. Breaths. And in that realization, Alex felt a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. The knowledge that sometimes courage wasn't about facing your fears alone. Sometimes it was about trusting someone else enough to step in with you, even if it was just for a few minutes. Alex and Maya walked away from the cafe with a strange mix of relief and lingering tension. The encounter with Sarah had gone surprisingly well, but now came the part that Alex had dreaded the most. Maintaining the act until it felt natural, at least enough to convince anyone who might see them, racing. He could feel his heart still racing, his palms slightly sweaty, and a faint buzzing in his head from the adrenaline of the encounter. Maya, however, seemed completely calm, as if pretending to be someone's girlfriend in a public space was just another ordinary part of her day. Breath. She laughed lightly at something Alex muttered under his breath and squeezed his hand reassuringly. The gesture made him pause for a moment. It was simple, almost casual, but it had a grounding effect.
"See?" she whispered. "You're doing fine. Just act like this is normal."
Desperation, like, us being together is normal. Alex nodded, trying to mimic her confidence. It was harder than he thought. Acting normal in a situation that was entirely artificial felt strange. But as he glanced at Maya, her easy smile, the playful tilt of her head, the way she seemed so completely at ease, it gave him courage. Maybe, he thought, it wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about believing in the act enough that it seemed real. As they continued walking down the street, they ran into a few neighbors who waved at them. Alex felt the weight of their eyes, worried they might suspect something. But Maya greeted each person warmly, casually linking her arm through Alex's as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He felt his anxiety ease slightly. People seemed to accept the image of them as a couple without question. And slowly, Alex started to believe it himself, at least a little.
"See?" Maya said, noticing his small smile.
Inspiration. People buy it. You just have to keep believing it. They found a quiet park bench near a small fountain and decided to sit for a few minutes, pretending to rest. Alex tried to steady his breathing and think clearly. He glanced at Maya, who was staring at the fountain with a playful smile, as if they were just two friends enjoying a calm afternoon. "This is weird," Alex admitted, his voice quiet.
almost lost in the background noise of children playing nearby and birds chirping in the trees. Maya laughed softly. Weird. Guess. Fun. Absolutely. Don't overthink it. Just
Go with it. Alex took a deep breath and nodded.
But he realized that Maya had a gift for making him feel calm, even in situations that should have been stressful. He began to notice little things. The warmth of her hand, the ease of her smile, the way she looked at him with a light-hearted expression that made him forget his worries for just a moment. At that moment, he realized something he hadn't expected. Pretending to be with Maya was starting to feel almost real. Not in a romantic way, necessarily, but in a comforting way. There was no judgment here, no pressure, no expectation, just the simple presence of someone he could trust. Their moment of peace was interrupted by a sudden sound, a laugh from across the park. Bah. Alex turned to see Sarah, sitting with some friends near the fountain. She looked over, and their eyes met. Alex felt a jolt of nervousness spike through him. Maya, noticing his sudden tenseness, squeezed his hand again. Breath, she whispered. We got this. Just smile. He forced a small, casual smile and stepped slightly closer to Maya. She leaned in just enough to make it look natural, letting her hand rest lightly on his shoulder. Sarah's eyes flicked between them, curiosity written clearly across her face. Alex could feel himself blushing slightly, but he tried to maintain composure. Hi, Sarah said, walking over with a friendly but slightly puzzled expression. Hey, Alex replied, his voice steadier than he expected. Fancy seeing you here again. Maya laughed lightly and added, Yeah, it's a small world, isn't it? Her voice was bright, casual, completely convincing. She leaned in slightly toward Alex, lowering her voice so that only he could hear. Just remember, keep it natural! Like this is just another day for us, Alex nodded, trying to follow her lead. Every small gesture, every laugh, every casual touch had to feel natural, or it would all fall apart. But Maya was like a professional. She made it easy to follow her rhythm, to trust in the act. Alex realized that sometimes confidence didn't come from feeling brave. It came from trusting someone else to carry you through.
They walked with Sarah toward the park fountain, chatting casually. Alex found himself relaxing more and more with each step.
The conversation flowed easier than he expected. Sarah asked questions about what he had been doing lately, and Maya answered smoothly, laughing at little jokes Alex had made up on the spot. The act felt surprisingly effortless. At one point, Maya leaned her head slightly on Alex's shoulder, just enough to make it seem intimate but still playful. Alex felt his chest tighten. It was a strange sensation, knowing it was all pretend yet feeling a small spark of comfort. He realized that acting like he had someone by his side made the encounter with Sarah not just bearable but even enjoyable. Sarah smiled, clearly intrigued, and Alex noticed she seemed to soften. Her questions became more casual, less pointed. The tension that had been so thick when he first saw her began to fade. For the first time since the breakup, Alex felt like he could interact with her without fear, without overthinking every word. The three of them spent a few minutes walking together, the air filled with laughter and light conversation. Alex was amazed at how natural it all felt, even though he knew it was a performance. Maya had a way of making everything seem effortless, and in doing so she gave him a gift, the ability to face a past he had been avoiding without crumbling under the weight of his own anxiety. Finally, Sarah excused herself politely, leaving Alex and Maya alone again. He let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His body felt lighter, his mind calmer. He turned to Maya, ready to thank her, but she was already smiling, teasing him lightly.
See? That wasn't so bad, she said.
You survived. And you didn't even look awkward the whole time. Alex laughed, a mix of relief and amazement. I don't know how to thank you. I couldn't have done this without you. Maya shrugged, still grinning. No big deal. Predacious. Honestly, it was kind of fun. And you seemed less stressed than I expected.
You just needed a little boost. As they walked away from the fountain, Alex reflected on the experience.
The encounter with Sarah had been nerve-wracking, but with Maya by his side, it had become manageable. More than that, it had been a reminder that sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places. The act of pretending, the simple act of someone standing with you, could change the way you faced your fears. He also realized something else. Maya wasn't just helping him pretend. She was showing him something important about trust, confidence, and courage. She had stepped into an awkward situation without hesitation, without judgment, and without a second thought.
That kind of boldness was rare, and Alex couldn't help but admire it. By the time they reached a quieter part of the park, Alex felt a sense of calm he hadn't felt in weeks.
The encounter with Sarah had passed, and he had survived it, not alone, but with someone who had made the impossible seem natural. Maya noticed his thoughtful expression and nudged him gently.
You okay? She asked, still smiling. Alex nodded, feeling a warm gratitude.
I'm more than okay. I think I understand something now.
Confidence doesn't always have to come from inside you. Sometimes it comes from the people who stand with you.
Maya laughed softly. Exactly.
And sometimes it's about pretending long enough until it feels real. That's the trick.
SBS. Alex smiled, realizing she was right. The afternoon had started as a panic, a stressful situation he didn't know how to handle. But with Maya's support, humor, and confidence, he had navigated it not just successfully, but with a sense of ease he hadn't thought possible. And as they walked back toward the street, he felt a spark of something new, a sense of possibility, a hint that sometimes the most unexpected people could teach you the most valuable lessons about life and courage. Alex and Maya had barely taken a few steps away from the fountain when Alex felt a strange mix of relief and curiosity. The encounter with Sarah had gone better than he imagined, but he couldn't help thinking about the questions she had asked and the way she had looked at them. There was something in her expression, a combination of surprise and curiosity, that lingered in his mind. It wasn't anger or jealousy, but a subtle sense that she was analyzing everything, trying to figure out what had changed. Maya, sensing that Alex was still tense, glanced at him with a playful smile. Hey, relax.
She's just curious. That's normal.
Don't overthink it. Alex nodded, but the tightness in his chest hadn't disappeared completely. He realized that seeing Sarah again had stirred up old feelings he thought he had put behind him.
It wasn't just about pride or awkwardness, it was memories. Old laughter, small inside jokes, and the sense of familiarity that came with someone who had been part of your life.
Maya noticed his distracted look and gave his hand a reassuring squeeze, silently reminding him that he wasn't alone in handling it.
I've got your back, she said softly.
Her tone wasn't teasing this time. It was calm and sincere.
You don't have to deal with her alone. Alex took a deep breath, letting the tension ease slightly.
There was something comforting about Maya's presence, something that made him feel steady in the middle of chaos.
He realized he hadn't felt this kind of support in a long time, not since before the breakup.
As they continued walking through the park, they noticed Sarah approaching again, this time alone. Alex's stomach twisted, a mixture of nervousness and anticipation building inside him.
Maya instinctively stepped slightly closer, as if shielding him from the tension, her hand brushing against his shoulder. "Relax," she whispered. "Just be yourself. And remember, I'm right here." Sarah's approach was casual, but her eyes were sharp, analyzing. "Hey," she said, her voice friendly but curious. "I just wanted to say, you two seem really happy together."
Alex felt his chest tighten again.
The words weren't hostile, but they carried weight. Maya, however, responded immediately with a bright smile. "Thanks, Sarah. We are trying to be."
She laughed lightly, making it sound natural, effortless.
Her hand brushed lightly against Alex's as she spoke. A small gesture, but one that communicated closeness without being overbearing.
Alex felt a strange mix of embarrassment and gratitude.
Embarrassment, because this whole scenario was completely fabricated, and gratitude, because Maya made it look so easy.
It was a performance, yes, but she performed it with such confidence that even he almost forgot it was fake.
Inspiration. Sarah tilted her head slightly, studying them both. "It's nice to see you smiling, Alex." Breast.
He glances around in despise.
The words made Alex pause. There was an undercurrent of something. Curiosity. Maybe regret? He wasn't sure. But Maya, sensing the subtle tension, stepped closer and laughed softly. "Well, we're trying, aren't we?" she said, teasing him just enough to make him chuckle quietly. Her ease was contagious, and Alex felt his anxiety melting away. They walked together a short distance along a winding path, chatting casually. Alex noticed how Sarah's demeanor had softened. She wasn't trying to be mean or confrontational. She was just curious, trying to understand the change she saw in Alex. It was a reminder that people often interpret things differently than we expect, and sometimes appearances mattered more than reality. As they walked, Maya leaned slightly toward Alex, whispering something lighthearted that made him laugh quietly. The gesture was small, but it gave him confidence. He realized that part of the act's success wasn't just about pretending to be a couple. It was about the energy they shared. Their natural interaction made everything feel authentic, and even Sarah seemed to pick up on that. Finally, Sarah stopped walking and faced them directly. Her expression was soft, but there was a hint of lingering curiosity in her eyes.
I just
"Didn't expect this," she admitted.
I mean, seeing you like this with someone, I didn't know what to think.
Broke. Alex felt a lump in his throat. Part of him wanted to explain, to tell her that this was all pretend, that Maya had only agreed to help him because he was nervous. But another part of him realized that it didn't matter. This moment wasn't about explaining. It was about showing that he had moved forward, that he could interact with her without fear or insecurity. Maya, sensing his hesitation, stepped closer and placed a hand on his arm lightly.
"It's okay, Sarah," she said warmly. "We're just enjoying the day."
No big deal. Alex realized then how much Maya's confidence was helping him navigate this delicate moment. Her calm presence, her natural ease, and her willingness to step into an awkward situation had made the impossible manageable. P had spent so long worrying about appearances, about what Sarah would think, that he had forgotten the simplest truth. Sometimes being present and genuine, at least in action, was more powerful than any explanation. Sarah nodded slowly, a small smile forming on her lips. "I guess I understand," she said softly. "It's good to see you happy, Alex." Alex felt his shoulders relax, and he realized that he could finally breathe without the tension of uncertainty pressing down on him.
Maya's hand remained on his arm, steady and reassuring, and he felt a warmth that had nothing to do with romance. It was the warmth of support, of someone being there for him without judgment. They continued walking for a little while longer, the conversation light and natural. Sarah asked a few more questions, but they were easy to answer. Maya joked lightly, making the situation comfortable and even enjoyable. Alex found himself laughing more freely than he had in weeks. It was strange, the way pretending had somehow made the encounter feel easier, lighter, almost fun.
When Sarah finally excused herself again, Alex let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding.
The tension that had been coiled tightly in his chest began to unwind.
He turned to Maya, wanting to thank her, but she was already smiling, teasing him lightly.
"You did great," she said. "Honestly, you handled that better than I expected." Alex smiled, feeling a mix of relief and admiration.
"I couldn't have done it without you," he admitted. "I don't know how you make this look so easy."
Maya shrugged casually, though the hint of a proud smile lingered on her lips.
"Confidence isn't about not being nervous," she said softly. "It's about doing the right thing even when you are nervous."
Psst. And sometimes, having someone beside you helps. Alex nodded, realizing how true her words were. The day had started with a panic, a fear of seeing Sarah again, and a sense of dread he hadn't expected to feel so strongly. But with Maya by his side, he had faced it, navigated it, and even found moments of laughter and ease along the way. As they walked back toward a quieter part of the park, Alex reflected on what had happened. He had expected tension, embarrassment, and awkwardness. Instead, he had found support, humor, and a reminder that the most challenging situations could be managed when you had someone willing to step in with you. Maya noticed his thoughtful expression and nudged him gently.
"You're thinking too much," she said with a light laugh. "Just enjoy the moment."
"Sand, you survived. You even look good doing it." "But," Alex chuckled softly, feeling the warmth of the afternoon sun on his face.
The encounter had been more than just a fake scenario. It had been a lesson in trust, confidence, and resilience.
Maya's willingness to help, her ease in an awkward situation, and her playful confidence had made all the difference. And as they continued walking together side by side, Alex realized that sometimes the people you least expect to help you can have the biggest impact. Maya had stepped in without hesitation, turned an uncomfortable situation into something manageable, and reminded him that courage didn't always come from within. It sometimes came from the people who chose to stand by you when you needed it most. After Sarah had walked away, Alex let out a long, shaky breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His chest still felt tight from the rush of adrenaline, but it was mixed with a growing sense of relief. The encounter had gone far better than he had imagined. He had survived the awkwardness, the tension, and the uncertainty without completely crumbling, and for that he owed a huge part of the credit to Maya. Maya, sensing his relief, gave him a playful nudge. "See? That wasn't so bad, was it?" she said, laughing lightly. Her energy was contagious, and Alex felt a small smile tug at the corners of his lips. Despite the awkward start, the day had turned into something unexpected. Fun, light, and even a little thrilling. I can't believe how easy you made it look," Alex admitted, shaking his head. "I don't know how you do it. I was a complete mess inside, and you just made it all seem normal."
Maya shrugged, though her eyes twinkled with amusement.
"It's all about confidence and timing," she said simply.
"And a little bit of pretending. The trick is to act like it's real until it feels real." "That's the secret," Alex chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck.
"Well, you definitely have a talent for it. I felt like I could actually handle seeing her, just because you were there."
Maya smiled warmly at him. Bray. That's what I'm here for, she said softly. Sometimes you just need someone who's willing to stand beside you, even if it's just for a few minutes, to make the impossible manageable.
They walked together through the quiet streets, the sun slowly dipping lower in the sky. Shadows stretched across the sidewalks and the park behind them was growing softer and quieter. Alex found himself glancing at Maya, noticing things he hadn't before. The way she walked with an easy confidence, the warmth in her smile, the subtle energy that seemed to draw people toward her without effort.
I have to admit something, Alex said after a moment, breaking the comfortable silence. I didn't just run into Sarah because of coincidence.
I was nervous. I didn't know how to face her. I didn't want to look pathetic or awkward. Maya looked at him thoughtfully, her expression softening. "And now?" she asked. "Now?" Breaths. "I feel like I can handle it," Alex said quietly. "Not just because the encounter is over, but because you were there. You made it easier. You made me feel steady, confident. Even when I wasn't."
Maya laughed softly, a warm, melodic sound that made Alex feel lighter inside.
"Well, that's good," she said. "I like being helpful. And I like seeing people smile, especially when they've been stressing out over something that really isn't as bad as it seems." Alex realized in that moment that there was more to Maya than just confidence and boldness.
She had a natural gift for putting people at ease, for making difficult situations feel manageable, even enjoyable. And he couldn't deny that he was beginning to admire her more than he had expected, but not romantically, at least not yet. But for her courage, her warmth, and the effortless way she could make someone feel supported. They walked in silence for a while, comfortable and easy. The tension of the earlier encounter had faded, replaced by a gentle camaraderie.
Alex noticed that he was laughing more freely now, that he was noticing small details in the world around him again. The warmth of the fading sunlight, the soft rustle of leaves in the evening breeze, the quiet chatter of people in the distance.
After a few minutes, Maya turned to him with a teasing grin. "So, are we going to tell anyone the truth about our little act? Or are we going to let the world assume we're the perfect couple?"
"I think some things are better left a mystery," he said, smiling. "Besides, you made it look so real, it almost felt real."
"Almost." Maya's eyes twinkled.
"Almost real can sometimes be more powerful than the real thing," she said mysteriously. Alex paused, thinking about her words.
They were right in a way he hadn't considered. The experience hadn't just been about pretending. It had been about courage, trust, and learning to face difficult situations with the right support. And in that way, it had been very real indeed. As they continued walking, Alex realized that the day had changed something in him. He no longer felt the sharp anxiety he had experienced earlier, the fear of running into Sarah, the dread of awkward encounters. It had all lessened because he had learned something important. Life wasn't just about facing challenges alone. Sometimes it was about allowing someone else to step in, to share the burden, and to turn fear into something manageable. He glanced at Maya again, feeling a warmth in his chest that was both surprising and comforting. "You know," he said, hesitating slightly, "I think this might be the first time in a long while that I felt genuinely relaxed around someone. Even though we were pretending, it didn't feel stressful. It felt easy." Maya smiled softly, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "That's because you let yourself trust me," she said simply. Confidence isn't just about acting brave. It's about trusting the people who are willing to help you be brave. And you did that.
You trusted me. Alex felt a small surge of gratitude.
He realized she was right.
The encounter with Sarah had been challenging, but it had been manageable because Maya had stepped in, not judging him, not hesitating, and not overthinking the situation. She had simply acted, and her action had allowed him to face a difficult moment with composure. They reached a small bench near a quiet fountain, deciding to sit for a while before heading back. The water rippled softly in the fading light, reflecting the warm colors of the sunset. Alex felt a sense of calm he hadn't felt in weeks. He leaned back slightly, letting the moment sink in, noticing how comfortable it was just to sit there with Maya, sharing the quiet without needing to fill it with words.
After a while, Maya nudged him lightly, her playful grin returning. So, how does it feel?
Being a fake couple expert now? She teased. Alex laughed, shaking his head. Exhausting, exhilarating, and surprisingly comforting, he said.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad you didn't hesitate to help me.
I don't know how I would have handled today otherwise. Maya smiled warmly, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the evening light. Well, you did great too, she said. I just gave a little push. But sometimes that's all it takes.
Alex felt a quiet realization forming in his mind. The day hadn't just been about facing Sarah. It had been about connection, trust, and the unexpected ways people can support each other.
Maya had stepped in without hesitation, and in doing so she had shown him something powerful. Courage wasn't always about acting alone. Sometimes courage was about letting someone else stand beside you. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm colors across the sky, Alex and Maya stood up from the bench. They began walking back toward their neighborhood, side by side, laughing softly about the world around them. The awkwardness of the day had faded entirely, replaced by a sense of ease, camaraderie, and quiet admiration. Alex realized that life often gave unexpected lessons in the most unusual ways. A stressful encounter with an ex, a spontaneous request for help, and a neighbor willing to step in. These moments had taught him more about trust, courage, and human connection than he could have imagined. By the time they reached the street near their homes, Alex felt a sense of gratitude and warmth that went beyond the events of the day. Maya had been there, fearless and ready, turning a moment of panic into a memory he would carry with him. He understood that some people enter your life for brief moments, yet leave lasting impressions. And Maya, bold, confident, and unhesitating, was one of those people. As they said their goodbyes, Maya gave him a gentle smile. "See you tomorrow?" she asked lightly, her tone casual but sincere. Alex nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest he couldn't quite describe. Yeah.
See you tomorrow, he said, smiling back. As he walked into his house, Alex realized that the day had been about more than just pretending to be in a relationship.
It had been about courage, trust, and the unexpected bonds that form when someone steps up without hesitation. And he knew that this experience, strange, impulsive, and unplanned, would stay with him for a long time. He thought about Maya and how her confidence had changed everything, how her willingness to help had turned a stressful, awkward encounter into a moment of growth and connection. And for the first time in weeks, Alex felt a quiet optimism. Life could be unpredictable, confusing and challenging, but it could also be surprising, comforting, and full of lessons, if only you let the right people in.